Well, this is a complicated video because neither I want to make it nor you probably want to watch it because it is a very hard day to digest because of course if you lose 3-0 or 4-0, you curse everything, you criticize them again, etc. But losing in this way, as I mentioned in the previous video, right? That the team recovered sports wise. Then we go into aspects that for me are inseparable from the fact of having lost. I mean, despite the very good reaction of Real Madrid, no matter how much we got ahead and they ended up coming back with two errors and such, for the good feeling, well, in quotes, right? That you get a bit from seeing the team with a desire and form that we haven't seen in other matches, not only against Barca, but many other matches during this season. Well, what is clear is that mm, everything comes of not knowing what you're playing for and then trying to fix it but wasting 45 minutes. Well, it's not the most recommended, and that's why we're in the situation we're in this year, right? And even so we'll get to that, huh? You can still win the league. I know this sounds like a joke, but I think you can still win the league, right? Careful. Let's see. If you ask me to give a percentage, we're much lower, 70-30 maybe, or 80-20. But it can happen. It can happen. And it's what of we are going to change the coach. What we need to think about here is that, come on, that's what I think. What you have to consider is that we need to support Madrid until the end. And besides, apart from what's left of the league, there's the Club World Cup, which will already be like the next season. Let's see if I'm sure you understand me, but that's still there. So no, we can now well, self-sabotaging and that it implode and that everything implodes, right? I think we have to keep rowing, even though, well, I include myself among the very critical ones, among those who have said Ancelotti should go and so on and so on. Let's see how do I say it? I didn't want to make this reaction video immediately after because I wanted to, well, let it all settle a bit. And in fact, I'm not going to include Ancelotti speaking at the press conference in this video because although he says things and I will refer to them, right? But what a drag, right? It's really a drag. But we are going to look at some very interesting things left by this post match and an interpretation, not only from a football perspective, but also in terms of narrative, which is a shame. We are already used to it. But in the end, we ended up how we thought we would. Hey, even having one, right? If we had one, I think, as I told you in a video yesterday before the game, the whole pre-match episode, and all this leaves here a villain of the story, which is Real Madrid, as it could not be otherwise. Why? Because it has always been like this, because it's all complex, and complex things make people tired, except for us Madridistas who are convinced of what happens to us with referees. And well, interpretations are made, quite easy ones, like the one we're going to see now from Inigo Martinez, and people just buy it because of course Madrid is the villain. How can you try to influence a final like the one we have, like the one of the King's Cup a day before, with the issue of the referees, right? How bad Madrid, big team but small team, etc. Well, anyway, we know. And then the attitude of, I mean, what the club does with the two statements is incomprehensible. Well, of course, it doesn't fix the thing, right? And if you have to go all out, then you go all out and don't stay halfway. But anyway, let's see. Let's talk about things like Rudiger's. There's a concern here. Watch out, because there could be something positive in this, in the sense that if Rudiger misses games, well, at least he finally gets some rest and comes back next season rested, his leg healed, etc. Because yesterday Rudiger played many minutes injured, but injured, right? And I think it's going to be closer to 12 games than to 4. Consider what I'm saying, because he threw ice at the referee that didn't hit him here. Like, but as accuracy is rewarded, if it hits, that's when we get to a crazy amount. But in any case, I think it's going to be a lot. We'll see, we'll find out. But Rudiger is then honored. He had no other choice. He has apologized. As the German risks, as we say, a sanction between 4 and 12 games for throwing that object. He has spoken and said that there is definitely no excuse for my behavior last night, and he apologizes to the referee and everyone that he had a bad night. Well, what is Rudiger going to say, by the way? Sure, the German is going to miss, since it will be more than 4 matches, league matches too, that they're we are going to have a problem with the issue of central defenders because Alaba is in a good moment to be there next to Asensio. I think not. You move Chouameni back. Now we talk about Chouameni. You move Chouameni back to be a central defender and you lose the fantastic midfielder Chouameni that is finishing this season. Also a bad solution. And then some will say, Alege and Miguel, you said the league could be won. Well, still, I think it has to be. It has to be fought for. But well, we had doubts with. At first, we thought it was Vinicius and Lucas Vasquez, the one sent off as well. There were 3 red cards right at the end of the match. What happened with Rudiger is undeniable. The situations with Lucas Vasquez and Jude Bellingham, finally, it's not Vinicius. Well, they are very debatable because, of course, the report by Burgos Bengoechea doesn't state what they said. But here, well, look, he shows them the red card as he could have chosen not to. It was a good refereeing, by the way. But here, in short, we have to believe the referee that he was very offended by, or they were very offensive with him, but we're in the same situation as always, at the mercy of a referee's report, and well, nothing, man. But I think in this case, the suspensions were for 1 or 2 matches at most, and they'll miss them in the cup. The cup next year, the first 2 rounds are what they are. So, well, Lucas Vasquez won't be there, by the way, because we're not talking about Vini anymore. And all that, or we hope that he won't be there, with a very warm goodbye and all that you want. But Lucas won't be there and Bellingham will, but it won't matter to him to miss 1 or 2 rounds of the next Copa del Rey because they are what they are. Lucas Vasquez says in the 120th minute, the player Lucas Vasquez was sent off for the following reason: for protesting one of our decisions, entering several meters onto the pitch, making gestures of disagreement. That's worthy of a red card. Lucas Vasquez had already been substituted, but if that's a red card, then dude, Thomas, don't mess with me. He says, hey, look, he insulted my mother, yes, but damn, it's just that, I mean, how many players don't enter the field once they're on the bench to protest a decision and such? And they don't get the red card? Well, he decided yes. In minute 999 around here. I don't know why it says that. Well, yes, in the end. Well, I think they put that when the match ends. I mean, already off the regular time, right? Bellingham, Jude Victor William was expelled for the following reason. Once the match ended, he approached our position aggressively, having to be restrained by his teammates. This goes a bit further. It's not like Lucas Vasquez, but anyway, the sanction is the same for both, right? With a red card. And here we are. I want to highlight that is about Chouameni. Cosenino, not only the post he made today with this message, they celebrate our defeats as if we wouldn't win again. We will return, he says at the end, and we must highlight not only this, which I think is a very good message, but also the great match Chouameni played and the great end of season the Frenchman is having, right? He understood why the Bernabeu booed him and why his role was so debated. And here what needs to be asked is for him to always be like this, and what needs to be asked of the club is to sign a very good midfielder to be by his side, because Chouameni's work is very necessary in a team, and then he needs to have someone next to him who knows how to play out the ball better, because Chouameni, for me, he remains what he is, a guy who is very good at many things, but when it comes to playing the ball out, he's a little... Well, it's not his strength, but if he has someone next to him who does it and does it very well, he's a Real Madrid player without a doubt, and he's proving it. Great match from Chouameni, and hats off to the Frenchman. And let's not even mention Goular's performance, and let's not even mention Goular because... And here I already... And that's why I'm reluctant put Ancelotti's statements, because it's more of the same. And anyway, Ancelotti is what he is, and that's why he has to leave Real Madrid with all the thanks, with all the honors, etc. Ancelotti has been very harmful for Giller, I must say it like that. This guy, the Turk, who yesterday showed that he can play a match against Barca in a final, moreover, and do it perfectly and be an extremely important part of the team's play. And indeed, he showed it. And also in a deeper position than where Ancelotti usually placed him, and in playmaking, and I think he's fully prepared. I continue saying the same thing, huh? No, I am not being led by the emotion of the match he played, the portion of the match the Turk played. He needs to build up his body. There has to be physical work with him. Listen, it can be done in a short time, right? Just ask Flick and the footballers of Barca, as long as everything is legal, of course. but you can bulk up, right? A subscriber sent me an image of Kunde from some time ago and Kunde now, and it's completely different. Precisely the one who scored the third goal and the winning goal for them. And Ancelotti with Guller, well, it's been regrettable. With Guller, with Hendrik, I mean, the management of the young players, he had to play Asensio because he had no other choice to play Asensio. But Ancelotti's management of the young players, for me, has been very poor. Just as he has been very good in other things in recent years, in this, I think it would be very counterproductive for him to continue at Real Madrid, which he won't continue. And as if Ancelotti leaves, then what we could have said at some point, hey, this boy Guller has to be loaned out somewhere because he needs to play, he needs to do some training elsewhere, wouldn't apply anymore. It depends on the coach who comes, of course, but I think the coach who all right, then it will as well. Then he will understand that this boy is very useful, but not because he will succeed in the future. In the no, right away and with minutes right away. I don't know if as an undisputed starter, but at least having more minutes than he has had. Speaking of minutes, about Mbappe, Ancelotti said that Mbappe, because he wasn't ready for 90 minutes, I saw Kilo's video this morning and he went on to count the minutes Mbappe ended up playing, right? The entire second half plus extra time and so on. In the end, he played almost 85 minutes. Wasn't he ready for 90? Well, I think he was perfectly ready for 90 because we saw that physically not ready. Well, I saw Mbappe in great physical shape, not just football-wise, right? That he was one of those who changed the game, scored the crucial equalizing goal, etc. And of course, if instead of Mbappe you put Rodrygo again, and that melon has to be opened, I think it's already open. About the selling or not of Rodrygo, we will talk a lot from now until the end of the season about finding a way out for this young man who has given us very good moments at Real Madrid, those semi-finals against City, etc., etc., etc. But it is not normal that a key starter for Real Madrid goes months without scoring a goal or scoring just one. I mean, that's not normal. This is not Real Madrid. And yesterday we were deprived of 45 minutes where Mbappe could have been perfectly and was this gentleman, because of course we are talking about how Madrid reacted very well and such, but we go back to the same thing. And if this Madrid can do this with this coach, it means they could have done it more times throughout the season. Certainly, and we have seen previous years Real Madrid has done it and this coach has achieved it, but what is clear is that this year the coach has not been listened to. Is it the fault of all the players? Come on, then get rid of everyone. No, you have to get rid of the one who couldn't convince them. The first 45 minutes of Madrid again against Barca, without understanding absolutely anything about how to play against them, well, I insist it is unacceptable. These embarrassing performances cannot happen again. Why? Because if Ancelotti continues next year, even if Florentino goes and signs more players, he's going to do the same again, and maybe you can beat them. And in fact, you have beaten them on other occasions. And definitely, the last few years have been what they have been. But it's just they're not knowing whether to press, and if you do press, you press poorly with only one guy, Vinicius, who is pressing the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper clears it perfectly, and then there's a massive gap because no one supports Vinicius in pressing up front. So that lack of coordination throughout the team, that lack of automatisms in, for example, something that is very important, the pressure. And then let's not even talk about the ball exit. The ball exit in the first half by Real Madrid, it was unfortunate, just like always when we face Barca. Then the second half is probably due to the players' fatigue, and because you put Valverde on the right back, and the exit is much better because Barca presses very well and force Madrid to go out through the wings. And of course, it's not the same to exit with Fede as it is with Lucas. And this was evident, and that also influences when it comes to and let's not even mention the presence of a midfielder like Güler, of a midfielder like Modric, who could provide a cleaner way out for the ball. As I say, are there elements in the team to do it, and did Ancelotti eventually put them? Yes. Why doesn't he start with them? He's going to do it again. He's always going to do it. And even if next year Lucas Vázquez is not there and Carvajal is, he's going to create these situations because he's a coach who has already lost the control of this team. And they like him a lot for sure, but now he has lost it. Well, and now we come to the uglier part of all this, and it's look, I was watching these images of Gavi with Asensio rubbing the victory in his face when the referee blows the final whistle. the same Gavi with a flag tied here to the waist that said anti-Madridista. You won't see a Real Madrid player celebrating any title with a flag that says anti-Barcelona. You won't see it. Maybe you saw it a long time ago, huh? But not now. And well, so for them, right? But that wait, then Marca tells you that the bad guy here. Hold on, let's see. And before going to the topic of Inigo Martinez, Marca or As tells you, who is it as, right? Yes. That the bad guy is Bellingham because he taints the fair play of Barca, but that's how they tell you, huh? Bellingham taints the fair play of Barcelona with an attitude that many will not understand. And it's Bellingham. Everyone is shaking the hands of the Barca players in the hallway as they do and so on to go collect their medal and so on. And Bellingham, well, here Bellingham is shaking hands with he doesn't shake Rafinha's hand. Instead, he touches his arm. We don't know what happened before also with Bellingham at the start of but it's not an attitude where you'd say about the Englishman how bad. I mean, it's not fair play. Hey, how many times have we seen footballers who have lost and such? They're being honored, they shake hands, but they already have enough with what they have inside their heads, reviewing the match, being upset. It's not a serious thing. Now, Diario AS is telling you that yes. We would have to see, really, if Madrid had won, Mundo Deportivo, Diario Sport, etc. If they would be putting, I mean, the newspaper AS today, the headline is Barça 1, Football 1, si productos sa mapa kabaru. I mean, can you imagine if it were the other way around? Well, we have to deal with all of this. And after what happened beforehand, well, I mean, the attack against Real Madrid is going to intensify in the coming weeks, months, years. Well, we are already more than used to it, right? And lastly, this thing about Inigo Martinez, because it's the narrative that has already been left by the poor practice of Real Madrid as an institution for not going all the way the day before, for not fully explaining what is happening. There are many who do not want to find out, and then, well, we have never managed the narrative. You can't no. If you follow our channels of the Real Madrid YouTubers, you'll definitely be more than familiar with the topic, and I think you all understand it perfectly, right? But on a global level, this can't be explained. So, of course, what happens? A guy like Inigo Martinez comes along, who I don't think will say it here, but he says the phrase, Richie is a good guy. I think in another moment of this flash interview, he says, hey, Richie is a good guy, referring to Ricardo de Burgos Bengoechea. So, of course, if you have everything in your favor, if your club paid for more than 2 decades to a referee chief, and now we don't know if it's paying or not, but the who during that time were promoted by that referee chief, who was receiving 8.4 million from Barca, are heads of the CTA, and there are many others who continue to referee who do not. They hired Negreira's son for coaching classes, and this helped them rise in their ranks as referees. Said by the referees themselves in the testimonies, that the civil guard took in the investigation of the Barcelona Negreira case. But of course, I know that explaining this is very, very complicated because it's also long, and the discourse that triumphs is this: let's be supportive of the referees. But these are the same ones who supported their teammate Rafinha when they said that referees are cowards, right? Araujo said it. This same one has also been seen criticizing referees on many occasions and so on. And now they come to us with this, and it is the nice speech, and at the same time the nice words and the nice speech because a referee cried. Man, how can we not have empathy for a referee who cried and whatnot? But how far are we gonna go? Then they insert the crap that Madrid didn't measure up, how bad Madrid was, and that's what sticks.
Today there has been a lot of pressure from Madrid's bench on De Burgos. Yesterday we had that person crying at the press conference.
The journalist's question is also unbelievable. Yesterday we had a lot of pressure we have had from Real Madrid. Yesterday we had a person crying who...
Now we're kind of losing it a bit. We're losing our grip a little.
Aren't we losing our minds a bit, says the journalist. Seriously, man, this is all regrettable. Of course, it predisposes Inigo Martinez to say what he's going to say, right?
They are human beings in the end.
They are human beings in the end, of course.
I think it has been... they have been very fair. I think we all make mistakes. We can be better or worse. But reaching those levels, I think, has not lived up to the great club. That is Real Madrid, right? That's my opinion. For the rest, on our part, today I congratulated him for the work he had done. and I hope the others do as well, to put themselves in his shoes, because it's not easy. It's not easy to be there and have everyone point fingers at you, right? So I think today football has won, and that is what's important.
Okay, so today that Barca has won, football has won. It's a shame because, well, it does not correspond to a club like Real Madrid. We have to understand the referees. We're coming from an incredible refereeing balance, not just in recent decades, but also this year with yellow cards to Real Madrid in matches where the opponent makes twice as many fouls, actions like almost the other day against Celta, which are called as penalties, so that Barca gets a break in the league and doesn't complicate it for themselves. And we see the same thing the next day with Bellingham, a match that Real Madrid later wins with Valverde's shot, but that is very similar, and they don't call it, well, not just that one. We've seen many more, and there is a comparative grievance, and etc., 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 etc. But of course, what remains in the end? Well, messages like this, the victorious narrative. Well, as always, it should not surprise us. These are difficult days, but guys, hey, let me tell you something. Ancelotti is leaving, etc. This is going to change. It has to change. We have to be excited for the next season, but there's something very important here, and that is maybe just a little more. You're going to call me crazy, but I don't know. The league can still be won. I'm telling you seriously, okay? I'm telling you seriously. I know we still have to play against Barca at Montjuic, and I know we could perform as poorly as the first half and maybe not end up 1-0, but get 3-0 against us, which is also very likely. But it's also likely that despite Ancelotti's stubbornness, he'll do one last good service for Real Madrid and things will turn out well from the start, beat them. And then Barca has matches against Villarreal, against Espanyol, tough matches with people who are going to want to mess up, I hope, Espanyol, I hope. And from people who are playing for things like the presence in the Champions next year, like Villarreal, and it could happen. And after that, Ancelotti will no longer be there. Club World Cup, and maybe on July 15th, we're saying, remember how bad we felt when we lost the cup final. Tosare Sebuentes, pues, hey, things haven't turned out so badly, and this year is going to be positive because, of course, I'm talking about possibilities that I understand should happen. They've made good signings. The squad will be planned much better. We'll have a guy like Xabi Alonso and so on. So there are reasons to believe and to have hope, even though today is very tough. It's a Sunday, go enjoy with your family, which is what I'm going to do, and I think there will be a video tonight too, and nothing, always, Hala Madrid. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, comment, share, and that's it. Hala Madrid. Today, more than ever. Bye.